Hi, how's it going? This is Resident. I'm calling for YouTube. Resident underslash of underslash Collingwood for BitChute. My real name is Joel T. Sains, and I'm a fan fiction writer. So I'm doing this video about wrestling, okay? About the writers of wrestling. You know, Vince McMahon hires writers to write his product, okay? If you hire a writer, let's say I were to hire, I know a couple writers, so I'll use them. Let's say I hired Darnell Weeks, a friend of mine, Daniel Culver, a friend of mine, John Philip Betancourt, Mark. Let's say I hired them to write with me, all right? Well, let's say hypothetically I told them, well, you have to do it a certain way. You can't have your own creative freedom. I want you to think about that for a second, what that would mean. They wouldn't want to work with me. You get what I'm saying? That's sort of the issue with wrestling right now, with WWE. The writers are not being allowed to be creative. Or it just, to me, you know, in my opinion, and people are going to point to the fireball thing. Yeah, it took how many weeks to do that, though? She says, I'm going to get you back next week. And then next week comes, it doesn't happen. It took them 3 weeks to do the fireball thing. Here's a newsflash. Just because Randy Orton set The Fiend on fire in a match doesn't mean she has to retaliate with a fireball. There's other things she could have did within the frame of a week. She could have took a baseball bat to his fucking car. She could have took a baseball bat to him. Whichever. You know, there's things she could have did to get even with him. She could have been following him around all week. Like, I think I'm being followed. There's things she could have did. Now, again, I'm going to get back to the writing thing, too. If I hired those guys and I told them that, you know what they would all do? They would all leave because it would be a joke. You literally can't hire writers and take away their creative freedom. Because what is the point of them being there? You get what I'm saying? There's no point to hire writers if you're not going to give them the creative freedom. Let's say somebody asked me to write something with them, but yet I'm not allowed to have the creative freedom to give my opinion. There's no point for me to write something with them then. You know what I mean? If I asked John or Mark or Daniel to write something with me, but I told them, hey, it's my story, you can't have your own input, there's no point to it then. You get what I'm saying? There would be no point. I'm making it a one-sided partnership, not a two-sided partnership. When you have writers underneath you, you need to listen to them and not always put the handcuffs on them or tell them no. Because if I walked into WWE today and I would ask one question, I told this to my friend Darnell Weeks. Shout out to everybody I just mentioned, by the way, including him. I would ask Vince McMahon, are you going to let us take the handcuffs off? Or, are we going to be allowed to have creative freedom? And if he'd ask, well, what do you mean, pal? I'd be like, well, are you going to say no to everything we put in front of you? Are you going to censor everything we put in front of you? Well, yeah, pal. See ya, bye. See ya, bye. I don't need a fucking filter to... a filter, someone who claims to be a filter, because when their product's been this fucking shitty, they clearly need fucking help. But when they're not willing to give the help, then guess what? Have the help or listen to the help, then what's the point of being there? There's no point of being there. And that's what gets me so frustrated is, look, as a writer, if it were me, I would have walked weeks, let alone years ago, on this dude. And I'd have said, fuck it, this dude don't know shit. I mean, here's a guy who once created Hulkamania, but yet can't see past... They're too caught up in the fact that they beat Monday Night Nitro. Well, there's how many other products out there that are better than you right now? Oh, Raw's the highest rated show on USA. What's that say about, I agree with Darnell Weeks, what does that say about USA? It says your fucking products are shit. Your products are shit. There's nothing out there that you're producing that is better than your lowest rated show. Your products are shit. That's what it boils down to. Quit worrying about wrestling, because clearly Vince McMahon ain't going to let his writers have freedom, and worry about creating a product that is better than the shit show that is Monday Night Raw, because that's what it is. Ultimately, it's a complete shit show sham. And again, you know, if I told any of those guys, you know, you can write with me, but you can't, they would laugh at me. They would laugh at my face. And I guarantee you, I wouldn't blame them for walking. Because why? Because I'm not letting them have the creative freedom. You can't, again, and I'm not trying to repeat myself, you can't have writers underneath you and not let them have that creative freedom. And that, to me, is what's going on at WWE and WWE. And anybody who's watching the product can clearly see that's the problem. That's the overall problem. The writers are not getting the creative freedom that they should get. And you have wrestlers who you can see their characters are just frustrated. The people playing the characters are frustrated because it's not good. It just isn't. And again, I guarantee you, any of those guys I just mentioned, they'd be like, nah, if you're not going to let me be creative, what's the point of having me here? Again, that's the point. It's pointless. You know what I'm saying? That's something I would never personally do. Now, you look at WWE, that's exactly what they are doing. It's not lack of creativity. It's you're not letting people have creativity. Lack of creativity would be the writers coming up with nothing. That would be lack of creativity. I refuse to believe you have how many writers on your staff and they're not coming up with nothing creatively. That's the bullshit part. That's the part I'll call bullshit on. Again, you have to let writers be creative. You can't put a handcuff on a writer and say, oh, you can't do this, this, and this, and this. Well, instead of telling me what I can't do, tell me what the fuck I can do. Okay? That's where I'm going to end this video. WWE's biggest problem is they're too busy telling the writers what they can't do, along with their talent, and not what they can do. And that's the biggest part of the problem, too. I'll see you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video /rant.